Raw Underground. Raw Underground looks like it has been cancelled. We have seen the last of Raw Underground. Now, obviously, we haven't seen Raw Underground on Monday Night Raw for, at least the last few weeks, and it looks like it's not going to be returning anytime soon because it looks to be officially scrapped. Now, Raw Underground debuted on August 3rd on Monday Night Raw. It was introduced by Shane McMahon, who returned for the WWE for the first time since about 12 months ago. On the debut episode of Friday Night SmackDown on Fox, he lost to Kevin Owens in that ladder match, was fired from the WWE, and the last Raw Underground segment that we saw on Monday Night Raw was held on September 1st, 2020, but according to Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, WWE has decided to scrap Raw Underground for several reasons, apparently. He revealed that WWE did not film any Raw Underground segments in recent weeks because they were worried that the extras that they were bringing in for these segments, you have to remember, all of those wrestlers that were surrounding the Raw Underground ring weren't actually WWE superstars. They were extras from the local Florida independent wrestling scene. You saw the likes of Pineapple Pete, right? The guy from AEW. He came in for a few extra segments on those Monday Night Raw Underground segments. And WWE were worried that those extras in the segments could cause the spread of COVID-19. Of course, all of the people that were brought in for Monday Night Raw, of course, were tested. If they appeared on camera, they have been tested and they tested negative. But it's not like the WWE superstars whereby WWE knows the exact whereabouts of their stars every day, every week. These extras are doing some of the independent shows that are running at the moment, and those independent shows, unfortunately, aren't doing thorough COVID-19 testing. What they're doing sometimes is temperature checks, medical questionnaires. They're trying to practice social distancing, but those extras, WWE just can't control. So they halted Raw Underground segments recently to prevent the spread of COVID-19. There was a little bit of an outbreak, if you recall, at the Performance Center and in WWE, so they were worried that that was the cause of that. So they stopped the segments. WWE did not want to run the risk of the roster getting the virus from these extras, but it appears like that the segment was initially dropped, as I mentioned, for that COVID-19 outbreak. But however, that isn't no longer the case. That outbreak is kind of halted a little bit in WWE now. But even with almost everyone involved in the Raw Underground team back to work, out of self-isolation or quarantine or whatever, WWE are skeptical about how the Raw Underground segments fit into the show. Now, it's quite interesting because earlier this month, Dave Meltzer reported that despite not seeing any Raw Underground segments, that Raw Underground wasn't finished. But it looks like those plans have changed quickly, and it looks like WWE is no longer going to be producing these shoot-fight elements to Monday Night Raw. And it's surprising and it's not surprising. I'll go into my thoughts on it in a second. But Raw Underground was fairly unique. I say fairly unique because if you've ever watched Bloodsport or anything like that on the indies, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport, or before that Matt Riddle's Bloodsport, then you would have seen that Raw Underground was scarily similar to that kind of deal. But it was interesting because it saw a unique introduction of certain superstars. It allowed certain superstars to be seen in a different light. It saw the introduction of the likes of Big Jordan, the bodyguard that guarded the door for Shane McMahon, got a bit of personality out of him. It saw the likes of the debuts of Arturo Ruas and Dabba-Kato, who have since been drafted to Monday Night Raw during the WWE draft. We also saw established WWE superstars like Braun Strowman, The Hurt Business, Shayna Baszler, Dolph Ziggler, the Viking Raiders, Riddick Moss all make their Raw Underground debuts and kind of slightly reinvent themselves, see themselves in a different light on Raw Underground. But they're not going to be in that setting anymore because Raw Underground unfortunately does not exist. Now, Raw Underground, I mean, a shockingly short run, to be honest, a shockingly short run even for WWE. It took place for just 8 straight weeks on Monday Night Raw. It started on the August 3rd episode and lasted, as I mentioned earlier, until the September 21st episode. And it hasn't been featured since. The last big Raw Underground match is probably the Raw Underground fight that they promoted the most, which was Braun Strowman against Dabba-Kato. That was only a couple minutes long. Braun Strowman essentially squashed Dabba-Kato in that match. So, as I mentioned, I'm surprised and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that Raw Underground is gone. If you go back and watch the first video I did talking about Raw Underground when the concept was introduced at the time, you'll see I said at the time, in a year, are we going to see Raw Underground on Monday Night Raw? No, I didn't see it then, and I'm not surprised that it's gone. And the reason I said that at the time is because, not because I thought, the segment's going to be a flop or it didn't make sense or anything like that. The main reason I thought that Raw Underground wouldn't last even a year in WWE is because you just have to look at WWE's track record when it comes to this. Myself, as a fan, I've been watching WWE for over 20 years now. And as a fan, I've seen a million concepts come and go in WWE. A million concepts come and go. Whether it's Brawl for All, the Juniors, the Electric Chair, the third hour being the resurrection of the Attitude Era in WWE. They've all lasted a few weeks at best, and then they disappear. They just disappear. Now, why do they disappear? Because Vince McMahon changes his mind every 5 minutes. Therefore, WWE Creative changes their mind every 5 minutes. So these concepts, regardless of how good or bad they are, they never last. They never last. So Raw Underground, regardless of your opinions on it, it never stood a chance. Regardless of its quality, it never stood a chance. These concepts come and go so fast, and Raw Underground, unfortunately, is no different. It's no different. I mean, think about it. The executive directors of the brand that head up the creative of these brands, they can't even last a year. So is a novel concept like Raw Underground going to last a year? Hell no. Of course it isn't. Of course it isn't. It's not going to be any different. So on that side of things, I'm not surprised. On that side of things, I'm certainly not surprised that Raw Underground has been scrapped. I didn't see it lasting a year anyway. So that isn't surprising to me. The thing that I am surprised in is how quickly it was dropped, I must say. And the manner that it has been dropped. Kind of just disappeared for a few weeks and now it's cancelled. And I'll be honest, and you can go back and watch the video because I can't lie, it's on the channel. I, like everyone else, was very, very skeptical of Raw Underground. I thought the first couple of weeks, and when it was introduced, especially in that first week, and you heard the rumours, something different is happening on Monday Night Raw tonight, it just seemed like another dumb, stupid idea that to me didn't make a lot of sense. It was very transparent in what it was. It was a ratings grab. It was another attempt at a unique concept to try and get people to watch the show, because that third hour of Monday Night Raw is Monday Night Death. Nobody watches that third hour. It's slowly killing the show. It's killing Monday Night Raw, and it dies a slow death every single week when you watch Monday Night Raw. When you get to that third hour, you always say to yourself, I know I certainly do, man, we have another third hour to go. We have one more hour to go. Oh my gosh, this feels like the longest show ever. Now, initially, no one really understood the rules. There was lots of questions like, why is Shane McMahon, the son of a billionaire, a millionaire himself, renting out or running a random fight club in a random room inside of a WWE arena? What are the rules? What is going on? It's Fight Club, Fight Club the movie on WWE style. It didn't make a lot of sense. It really didn't make a lot of sense. But I must say, and I'll be completely transparent here, as the weeks went on, I enjoyed some of the Raw Underground segments. I think a lot of people did. Now, don't get me wrong, they weren't perfect. By any means were they not perfect. I really could have done without Shane McMahon's commentary. The whoa, crazy. It was like a flashback to Sunday Night Heat in 1999 and with Shane McMahon on commentary, and that wasn't good. So I could have done without that. I could have done without the, and I'm being conservative with this number, 10 trillion camera cuts during Raw Underground. Honestly, what on earth makes it seem legitimate that you have to cut? You nearly had a fit watching Raw Underground, some of those fights. And to be honest, that's not just a Raw Underground thing. That's a WWE thing in general. There is way too many camera cuts during a WWE show, let alone the Raw Underground segment. So that was difficult. And I could have done without WWE going to commercial halfway through a legitimate shoot fight. When on earth do you ever see that in the UFC? Halfway through round one of a heavyweight championship match, you see John Anik go, all right, we're going to go to commercial. Hopefully the fight's still on as we come back from commercial. No, of course you don't. So why should you do it here when you're simulating a shoot fight? It's dumb. It didn't make any sense there. But regardless of all of that, regardless of it all, I did enjoy some of the Raw Underground segments. I did. I thought, as I mentioned earlier, I thought the bodyguard, Jordan, he looks like a star. I mean, we have no idea if he can work. For all we know, he might be the next Giant Gonzalez, but he looks the part. He certainly looks the part. He's ginormous. So I thought him in that role was a lot better than dressing up as a giant ninja. I think, well, anything, to be honest, dressing up as a giant ninja is better. But I thought he looked the part in that. So I like the introduction of him. I also like the introduction, as I mentioned earlier, of Arturo Ruas and Dabba-Kato, until Braun Strowman destroyed Dabba-Kato in about 3 minutes. But I enjoyed the introduction of them. I thought it was a unique way to introduce new talent rather than vignettes, match, crappy promos. I thought, well, it's interesting. It's different. Different's good. WWE does the same all the time, so different is unique. It's good. But I think the thing I like the most about it is that we saw superstars that, to be honest, maybe needed, quite frankly, a fresh coat of paint, if you were, appear in a different setting. Dolph Ziggler, I thought, was a prime example of this. I thought every time Dolph Ziggler appeared in a Raw Underground segment, he looked great because he could showcase what he's really about. He is a legitimate wrestler. From, was it Kent State, wherever it is? He was a legitimate wrestler, and he got to showcase that, and I thought he looked great in it. Braun Strowman as well. He's coming off that Universal Championship run that, to be honest, left a lot to be desired. And I think a lot of people are going, what's next for Braun Strowman? To get back to that Braun Strowman of 2016, 2017, the real monster, having beat the hell out of guys on Raw Underground. Now, I was complaining a lot about the brand rules at the time because WWE doesn't care about brand extension, quite frankly, but I enjoyed his appearances on Raw Underground too. I thought he did a good job. And I thought Shayna Baszler, when she was in there, I thought she did a great job. The four horsewomen in general in there, Maria Shafir and Jessamine Duke, I thought they did a great job as well. So I enjoyed the different environments seeing these superstars in. It made them feel like legitimate badasses. And in a world where everyone knows the game when it comes to professional wrestling, everyone knows it's a work. Sometimes with a modern superstar, it's difficult to see them as a legitimate badass. In that environment, they did feel like that. So I thought it was a fun presentation. But for me, I think there were some real critical mistakes when it comes to Raw Underground. I think one of the biggest mistakes when it comes to Raw Underground was not giving the segment to the Hurt Business. The first week, if you recall, cast your mind back 8 weeks, or longer than that, whatever it was, to that August episode. The first week, at the end of the show, closing out Monday Night Raw, the Hurt Business took over Raw Underground. You had MVP there with the microphone, you had Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin just killing guys. When they took over Raw Underground, they should have kept it. You should have had MVP on the mic talking smack to everyone. You should have had Bobby Lashley, a legitimate MMA fighter, killing people. You should have had Shelton Benjamin, a legitimate wrestler, just wrestling people to the ground, killing them as well. I think it would have made a lot of sense. MVP would be much, much better on the mic and doing some commentary and talking smack to some people than I think Shane McMahon did. No offense, Shane, but MVP is just better for me in that environment. And the glimpses were there, but you've got to have Shane McMahon on TV, right? Said Vince McMahon. No one else said that. You've just drafted as well Matt Riddle to Monday Night Raw, a legitimate former UFC fighter. Have him in Raw Underground beating the hell out of guys instead of talking about his feet and his tootsies and his flip-flops and saying bro every 5 minutes. I think that would have been a lot better presentation of Matt Riddle, quite frankly. He was in Bloodsport. As initially what it was about Matt Riddle. So that makes perfect sense. You've just drafted him to Raw, and then you cancel Raw Underground. Where is the sense in there? Where is the logic? As Big E would say, there is none. There is no logic when it comes to WWE sometimes. So I think also you could have built to Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. It's a fight. It's a match everyone wants to see. And I don't know at this point if it's going to happen in the WWE ring. If anything, I would probably say it's unlikely. If you really wanted to make that Raw Underground segment mean something and feel special, why not have Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar involved in that? That could have been something special. It could have been something special, but you never gave it an opportunity because WWE changed their minds every 5 seconds. So that's why. It would have been money, but they didn't do it. They ruined it. And for me, I always felt that the way that Raw Underground could truly succeed is if it was a separate entity. It was something completely different. And by that I mean you have Raw as the 2-hour show and you dedicate that entire third hour to Raw Underground. I think the biggest problem was it just felt like an addition to Monday Night Raw. That third hour, they go on at the top of the third hour, we're going to have Raw Underground. And that wasn't really the case. You had a couple of minute segments of Raw Underground and that was it. And then you went back to the normal narrative of Monday Night Raw, and that wasn't enough for me. It wasn't enough. It was too quick. And I think if you'd had Raw be a 2-hour show on USA, which is desperately needed, just give Raw Underground that entire third hour, a completely different presentation, a completely different show, and for that entire third hour, all you see is Raw Underground. I think that kills 2 birds with 1 stone there. I really do. Raw becomes a 2-hour show, which is desperately needed. And then you have Raw Underground as the third hour, and USA Network gets their third hour and their 3 hours of WWE content on Monday nights. It's win-win. It's win-win. Now, would the ratings have been good for that Raw Underground hour, the third hour from 10 to 11? No, because the third hour ratings always suck. They always suck. So that's why I've said you look at WWE for the last couple of years, and the last several years, they've been trying everything to save that third hour of the show. And I recall, I always cast my mind back to 2019, because in 2019, those WWE shows, and the end of 2018, those WWE shows were just horrific, weren't they? They were so bad to the point that the entire McMahon family had to come out on Raw in December of 2018, said, we're giving the show back to you. The fans are in charge. We're going to change things. And they changed nothing. They just debuted a few NXT stars, which they've absolutely killed since then. They've been trying everything. In 2019, for that third hour, they had Mick Foley come out, and Raw's third hour became an all-black Titantron, apart from the Raw logo. Do you remember that? The Titantron suddenly all blacked out. The lights came down. It just said Monday Night Raw on the Titantron. And Raw's third hour, their attempt at that time, Raw's third hour was going to be the Attitude Era again. We're bringing back the Attitude Era for the third hour. So you can't miss out on the third hour, because everyone loves the Attitude Era, right? Which is a separate thing, but can we stop romancing the Attitude Era? Because some of those shows were hot garbage too. They just were. But they were saying that the third hour, 10 to 11, it's going to be edgy. Raw's going to be edgy. We've blacked out the Titantron, and we've got the 24/7 Championship, which Mick Foley introduced them. We had the electric chair segment with Sami Zayn and Corey Graves. Raw was going to be edgy. We've blacked out Titantron. Whoa. And that was going to save the third hour. And then, the same as Raw Underground, a few weeks later, it was all dropped, and the third hour was back to normal. So nothing changes. That's why I was so skeptical when the segment came about in the first place, because, again, look at history. History will tell you everything you need to know when it comes to WWE in these random segments. They're there for a few weeks, they try them, they don't even really give them an opportunity to fail or thrive, and then they disappear, and that's it. So now Raw Underground, it joins the list of one of those failed concepts. It will be a quiz answer in a lockdown quiz in the next few weeks or over the next few years. It will have a documentary on the WWE Network in about 2 or 3 years' time. WWE Untold, Raw Underground with Shane McMahon on there and Big Jordan, and have Braun Strowman on there too. That's what it will be. That's what it will be. And it looks like it's been put on the pile of failed concepts in WWE. And again, I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised in the same way because I predicted it. It's a shame, but as I said, ultimately, it's not much of a surprise. So that's what it is, unfortunately. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on the cancellation of Raw Underground? Are you going to miss the segment? What are your thoughts on cancelling so quickly? It only lasts in 8 weeks. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll be sure to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys and talking about wrestling here on the channel. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button as well. It really does help us out here on the channel. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds, easy for me to say, on YouTube if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. I think we're like 15 or 16 subscribers away from 1,000 now, so if you haven't already, please do subscribe as we aim for that magic 1,000 number. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.